This week has been horrific. It has been terrifying, and it has been heart-wrenching. But we're here today to give pause and to connect with those of us around us and also in this world to give support and to uplift each other during this time. So we invite you to light your chalice at home, close your eyes during meditations, join in the singing of the hymns, and just connect with yourself, those around you, and with the universe. So we're going to open up with our hymn. If we all stand, and let's join in singing our hymn number 134, Our World is One World. Our world is one world that touches
Good morning. I am Reverend Terrence Strauss, Senior Minister here and after a soul-crushing week, it feels so right to gather and to come together. So I am so glad you are here, and I am so glad you are here with us. At the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, we are transforming lives through courageous action and soulful connection. That is our mission. Our faith tells us that if we transform ourselves and each other, we can transform our world. This week, many of us have wrestled with feelings of despair, helplessness, righteous fury, and deep concern for our way of life here in our country. We wonder, is this a country where we can continue to live safely, to expect to enjoy freedom to worship, to send our children to school, to shop at stores, to live our lives? You know, seeing you now, I wish that I had thought to buy teddy bears for each and every one of you who came to sit in service today and to mail them out to you. But for 1 hour, at least once a week, we connect with our collective vision for the world we all dream of. A world without automatic weapons. A world with expansive health care and mental health care and community care. A world where all people, queer, trans, African American, Asian and Asian American, Latinx, white and indigenous, work to protect and preserve the worth, dignity, freedom, and safety of the other. Amen. This is the project we are undertaking here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta. So I want you to know where you are. To know that you are welcome here, this place, a slice of heaven in a heavy world. Welcome to your faith home.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Aidan McMahon, your ministerial intern for this year, and I'm glad to be here with you this morning for worship as we honor Memorial Day together. If you are ready for our nation's elected officials to take action for gun safety, please join Atlanta's interfaith community for the March for Our Lives on Saturday, June 11th. The procession will gather at 1 p.m. outside Ebenezer Baptist Church and process over to Liberty Plaza in front of the state capitol to rally to take action for common sense gun laws. You are invited to wear an orange t-shirt to demonstrate solidarity. We are now recruiting a spirited team of Sunday morning guides to help radically welcome newcomers and longtime UUCAers alike into our next UUCA campus when we open on August 7th. If you are interested in serving on Sunday morning's Radical Welcome team, please email radicalwelcome@uuca.org. We will provide training and support as we build a new way for UUCA together. Also, save the date. Sunday, September 18th will be our grand opening and home blessing celebration in our new North Druid Hills campus. We will gather for a water communion at 11 a.m., lunch and games from 12 to 1:30, and a special home blessing ceremony at 2 p.m. Through the live chat, we can express love and care for each other. Please take a moment to say hello to each other and anyone else who may be visiting into today's worship, and we'll do the same right here.
Hi, guys.
Please, won't you join in saying our chalice lighting words together? May the light of this flame illuminate our tradition of seeking, invite all who yearn for acceptance, and ignites our passion for justice and peace.
And now I think Laura Beth Brown will join us. Oh no, first, that's not what's happening. We're going to hear from the Irish band. Go ahead.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you must do must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. 'Tis I'll be there in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. And if you come when all the flowers are dying, and I am dead, as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me, and I shall hear, though oft you tread above me, and all my dreams will warm and sweeter be, if you'll not fail to tell me that you love me. I'll simply sleep in peace until you come to me.
Thank you. And now rise in body or in spirit and join Laura Beth Brown, who will lead us in this morning's movement prayer.
First, we vow to honor the spirit of life. We lift our arms and embrace the gifts of spirit. We bring these gifts unto ourselves with gratitude and breathe and smile. We share these gifts with the world. We remember to be present. Honor. Embrace. Gratitude. Share. Be present.
Okay, can you turn my mic on? I just have to tell you that the teddy bear did the movement prayer, and that was very healing and really preached to me, so thank you. Feel like maybe the teddy bear should lead us in the movement prayer one of these Sundays.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Let us put hands upon hearts and feel the warm connection there. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love can heal the world. At this time, you are invited to say the names of someone you are holding in your heart this morning. Someone who could use extra love and care. Speak their names. Write their names into the live chat. Speak their names into this holy moment now. And I will speak some names. Nevea Bravo, age 10. Her name is Heaven spelled backwards. She loved to make people smile. Eva Moreles, age 44, an educator for 17 years. She taught fourth graders at Robb Elementary School. Xavier Lopez, 10 years old, loved cracking jokes and dancing the cumbia. Jose Flores, age 10, was a fourth grader who loved to play baseball. Irma Garcia, age 48, was a fourth grade teacher at Robb Elementary. She loved to cook and fish and teach her children how to read. And on Thursday, her husband, Jose Garcia, died of a heart attack shortly after her memorial. Ellie Garcia, age 9, loved singing and dancing. Tess Mata, age 10, loved spending time with her family. Lexi Rubio, age 10, was a standout student, an athlete who played basketball and softball too. Hyla Silguero, age 10, loved pink and playing games. Jacqueline Cesares, age 9, recently celebrated her first communion. Jace Lewanos, age 10, made a pot of coffee for his grandparents, whom he lived with every morning. Miranda Mathis, age 11, was smart, fun, and spunky. Marie Jo Garza, age 10, was an honor roll student, a proud big sister. McKenna Lee Elrod, age 10, loved to dance and sing. Layla Salazar, age 10, won 6 races at the school's recent field day event. Maite Rodriguez, age 10, dreamed of becoming a marine biologist. Annabelle Rodriguez, age 10, was outgoing and loved to be the center of attention. Eliahana Cruz Torres, age 10, loved playing softball and was hoping to make the all-star team. Rogelio Torres, age 10, was a smart and loving child. Alethea Ramirez, age 10, loved art and playing soccer. Lucia Garcia, age 10, was getting ready for long days of football, swimming, video games, and whatever fun the summer might offer after he finished 4th grade. And 2 years later, I want to lift up George Floyd's name too. May all beings find connection. May all people find comfort. May all of us find more ways to be more loving to one another and to ourselves. As humans have gathered for millennia, so do we gather on this day to gently surrender to something beyond ourselves, to humbly acknowledge our mistakes, to ask forgiveness, to seek hope and renewal, to honor the earth that supports and sustains life, and to remember that all beings are mysteriously connected. And for just one moment, to feel that connection. Now, we still our bodies, and we still our minds. We take in a breath, and we exhale. We relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter into the wise silence.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart are the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. In the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit come to me, come to me.
Our story this morning is The Wall by Eve Bunting, illustrated by Ronald Hilmer. This is the wall, my grandfather's wall. On it are the names of those killed in a war long ago. Where is Grandpa's name? I ask. Well, we have to find it, Dad says. He and I have come a long way for this, and we walk slowly, searching. The wall is black and shiny as a mirror. In it, I can see Dad and me. I can see the bare trees behind us and the dark, flying clouds. A man in a wheelchair stares at the names. He doesn't have legs. I'm looking, and he sees me looking and smiles. Hi, son. Hi. His hat is a soft, squashed green, and there are medals on it. His pant legs are folded back, and his shirt is a soldier's shirt. A woman, old as my grandma, is hugging a man, old as my grandpa would be. They are both crying. Shh. He whispers, shh. Flowers and other things have been laid against the wall. There are little flags, an old teddy bear, and letters weighted with stones so they won't blow away. Someone has left a rose with a droopy head. Have you found Grandpa yet? I ask. No, Dad says. There are so many names. They are listed under the years when they were killed. I found 1967. That's when my grandpa died. Dad runs his fingers along the rows of print, and I do too. The letters march side by side like rows of soldiers. They're nice and even. It's better printing than I can do. The wall is warm. Dad is searching and searching. Albert A. Jensen, Charles Bernowski, George Munoz, he mutters. His fingers stop moving. Here he is. My grandpa? I ask. Dad nods. Your grandpa. His voice blurs. My dad. He was just my age when he was killed. Dad's rubbing the name, rubbing and rubbing as if he wants to wipe it away. Maybe he just wants to remember the way it feels. He lifts me so I can touch it too. We've brought paper. Dad puts it over the letters and rubs on it with a pencil so the paper goes dark and the letters show up white. You've got parts of others guys' names on there too, I tell him. Dad looks at the paper. Your grandpa won't mind. They were probably his friends anyway, I say. Dad nods. Maybe so. A man and a boy walk past. Can we go to the river now, Grandpa? The boy asks. Yes. The man takes the boy's hand. Button your jacket. It's cold. My dad stands very still with his head bent. A bunch of big girls in school uniforms come down the path. Their teacher is with them. They are all carrying more of those little flags. Is this the wall for the dead soldiers, Miss Gerber? One of them asks in a loud voice. The names are the names of the dead, but the wall is for all of us, the teacher says. They make a lot of noise and ask a lot of questions, and all the time Dad just stands there with his head bowed, and I stand beside him. The girls stick their flags in the dirt in front of the wall and leave. And then it's quiet again. Dad folds the paper that has Grandpa's name on it and puts it in his wallet. He slides out a picture of me, one of the yucky ones they took in school. Mom made me wear a tie. Dad puts the picture on the grass below Grandpa's name. But it blows away, and I get it, and I put it back and pile some stones on top. My face smiles up at me from under the stones. Grandpa won't know who I am, I tell Dad. I think he will, Dad says. I move closer to him. It's sad here. He puts his hand on my shoulder. I know, but it's a place of honor. I'm proud that your grandfather's name is on this wall. I am too. I am. But I'd rather have my grandpa here, taking me to the river, telling me to button my jacket because it's cold. I'd rather have him here.
Good morning. So, my name is Aaron Lichke. I'm the director and coordinator at Citizen Advocacy of Atlanta DeKalb. And first off, I just want to thank all of you and the entire congregation for inviting me here today. In Citizen Advocacy, we talk a lot about radical hospitality. And it's so incredible to be able to share a space where everybody here gives that full essence of radical welcoming and hospitality. So thank you so much. The 4 years I've worked at Citizen Advocacy, I've had the pleasure to get to know some people in the UCA realm, including some current and past staff members, including Beck and Nicole, Elizabeth, and then also our longtime connection with Bo Geisen. So I also recently got the honor to have a wonderful phone conversation with Letta Wu and really feel the true connection of the values of citizen advocacy's connection of justice with the UUCA. And we began to feel that, and also have been able to be in a space with you over Zoom before we were in person, as I helped facilitate adult religious education, specifically around the social devaluation of people with developmental disabilities. So, it's so easy to see suffering in our world, as we have been here today with a vigil and speaking the names of people from gun violence. And I unfortunately am here to tell you about people that we are still hiding, that have been suffering through time, through history, and that's people that have had disabilities. So, if you're like me, I constantly asking myself, how could I, one person, make a big difference in making our community, for myself and my neighbors, more welcoming, adding more hospitality, not just in one building, but our whole community. And I will not pretend to have the full answer on how we can do that. But one little way that I've been involved in doing that each day, and luckily I get paid to do it, which is wonderful, is through citizen advocacy. And in citizen advocacy, we truly believe in the power of people, love, and relationship, just as y'all have spoken that today. So what do? I am a matchmaker. Not romantically. I'm not finding anybody a boyfriend, a girlfriend, or a wife. But I'm a matchmaker where it's my job to go into those parts of society where people have been hidden or pushed all the way to the edges, that are at risk of abuse, neglect, and social isolation just because of a disability label that we have given them. And when I find them, I'm usually the first person that might be asking, who are you as a true human being? Share all of you, not just your disability. And then once I get to know their story enough, I go out and find people just like you, an ordinary person, and I go searching for that one person that I think would be matched perfectly in a personal, connective relationship. And it is then that relationship that provides that protection and advocacy that we strive for, but also allows for the person with a disability to become and share their gifts in the wider community. So, citizen advocacy has been excited. We've had a long history with UUCA and different members, but recently we've been excited to build that relationship stronger and grow it even more. We are absolutely honored that we've been chosen for this month's Give Away the Plate. So we appreciate your support, and I offer an invitation to each one of you. If citizen advocacy feels like a way that you might want to interact and become and meet somebody that you might never have ever had the opportunity to in your local community, reach out to me anytime and let's just have a conversation. It just starts that way, usually over some coffee or some tea. So this morning's offering will be given and gratefully received.
Oh, all the money that e'er I spent it in good company, and all the harm I've ever done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for lack of wit to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all.
If I had money enough to spend and leisure time to set awhile, there is a fair maid in this town that sorely has my heart beguiled. Her rosy cheeks and ruby lips, I owe she has my heart enthralled. Then fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all.
Oh, all the comrades ere I had, they'd wish us sorry and had gone away. And all the sweethearts save but one, they'd wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls within our lot that we should rise and you should not, we'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be with you.
Today we make sure that nobody is invisible. Please join me now in the dedication of the offering. To the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we call community. We dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Thank you. We have a reading in two parts today. The first is from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verses 3 and 4. Why do you see the speck in your neighbor's eye, but don't notice the log in your own? Or how can you say to your neighbor, let me take the speck out of your eye, while the log is still in yours? The second part, from Moral Injury and Human Relationship, a conversation by Reverend Dr. Michael Yandel. A grand patriotic narrative forgets so much. It is a log of insidious necessity that demands all these war memorials, all these sacrifices mean a certain thing. Have you ever heard someone say, our women and men in the armed forces are out there dying for fill in the blank? I invite you to ask the dead what they died for and to encounter the silence that greets you. I will keep my speck of moral injury, but the log that perpetuates more death by putting words into the mouths of the dead, that log I would have out forever. So ends the reading. Most Sundays, I wear these shoes. I don't know how well you can see them, but they're old, they're creased, they don't keep a shine very well. They're hand-me-downs from my grandfather, Gunnery Sergeant Henry Michael McMahon, a Marine Corps veteran. Grandpa Henry ran away from his home in Cambridge, Massachusetts at age 16 to enlist, which I believe means he had to lie about his age. He served in the Pacific during World War II, eventually doing aerial reconnaissance, and stayed with the Corps through the Korean War, where he became the combat correspondent attached to HMR 161, the first ever helicopter transport squadron. Grandma Henry spoke proudly of his work, wistfully even. And it was a rarity to see my grandfather without one or more cameras hanging around his neck. He was constantly memorializing life. Now, Grandpa Henry was a complex man. He had a passion for the arts, which seemed at odds with his admittedly coarse demeanor. Swear like a sailor doesn't even begin to cover it, folks. And yet, I owe so much of my cultural exposure to him. We would often go into Boston to visit the Museum of Fine Arts or the Isabella Stewart Gardner. 3 times during my childhood, he, my grandmother, and I made the 9-hour drive to D.C. to see the Smithsonian. I was entranced by the airplanes, the gemstones, the sculpture. But we didn't just visit the museums. My grandfather made sure we visited the memorials. Our trips to the Marine Corps War Memorial and the Korean War Veterans Memorial always came with stories, often ones I hadn't heard before. They came with tears, too. In fact, he cried at all the war memorials, not just for those wars he served in. As in the story Laura Beth just read, we search the names of his fallen friends at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. My grandfather did not shy away from the things that moved him. He sought beauty in his post-military life, and though it may be putting words in the mouths of the dead, I will risk it. I think it was because he had seen so much ugliness in war. Emotional shrapnel had done far more damage than the pieces of metal he could point to buried in his arms. So much so that he forbade his 2 sons and his 5 grandsons from ever joining the military. And so I've found my own way to walk in his shoes. A small memorial of my own, reminding me of his life and his love, a connection of past and present. He taught me the power of remembrance in life, and so I aim to remember him in death. When we make a memorial of something, we name it as sacred. This past March, Reverend Strauss preached on the sanctity of life. Death, as the culmination of life, is thus the culmination of many sacred experiences. We don't just hold a funeral, we hold a memorial service. So when death comes unnaturally or unjustly, especially the deaths of many at once, we often feel compelled to make that memorial permanent. It becomes hallowed ground. Why can't we stop consecrating the ground in blood? How many memorials have we made this week alone? Far, far too many. This Memorial Day weekend, we're memorializing more than just the lives lost to war. We are remembering lives lost to gun violence, to COVID-19. We hope to memorialize the unspeakable loss our nation has suffered in recent years. It is a profound and precarious duty to speak for the dead. Our reading today seeks to show the pain that doing so poorly can cause. And to be clear, I did not set out to call anyone a hypocrite by selecting it. This is a cultural issue, and what we as a culture for so long now have been dealing with is our enmeshment in unjust systems, alongside those of racism, predatory capitalism, and their ilk. There is also militarism. Whether or not we actively perpetuate them, there is always some transference, some voice echoing in our head, and the amplification of those voices across 300 million minds has a power not easily quantified. But Reverend Yandel has given it a name: the log in the eye of society. This log has destroyed our depth perception and made society insist that we see it through these flattened, unquestioned narratives. But as with my grandfather, we don't always play the part we're assigned. That, I will remind you, is the meaning of the word hypocrite, an actor. One who repeats what they've been told to say as they've been told to say it. A mouthpiece with no critical thought. Grand narratives of war, violence, and inevitability would drown out our individual narratives instead of allowing the many stories to provide context and critique for the larger ones. Everyone here has their own unique story, shaped by experience and by conscience. Proud veterans and those who feel regret. Conscientious objectors and draft dodgers. Pacifists and believers in just war. There are those of you who don't know how to feel, and those who are constantly in a state of flux. It is okay to be conflicted. Honestly, I think it's better than being certain. Uncertainty allows us to be moved. It allows our memorials to do what they're meant to do. The dead can't speak for themselves. For those who left little behind, we risk a kind of desecration, the theft of their voices to add to the chorus of uncritical patriotism. Maybe instead of talking about what the dead died for, we should be asking what they died from. War, bigotry, ego, politics. These things kill people. And rarely did they sign up for it. Even those who willingly went to war, I'm certain, hoped to return. Our cultural narratives don't focus on the pain, the grief, or the fear of those final moments, the profound loneliness of death on a battlefield, or the existential dread of the unknown. And what of those scars which linger in the hearts and minds of survivors? Our crisis of unhoused veterans and their vastly higher suicide rate are proof enough of that. And soldiers, it must be said, aren't the only victims of war or even the most prevalent. Still more often ignored are the multitude of civilians lost and traumatized. They did not ask for death, and yet death came for them. Just as it is now for our shoppers, our worshipers, and our school children. They didn't know they were going into war zones. After all, they lived in the greatest country in the world. These two need to be part of how we talk about our collective past and our collective present. These two must be memorialized. These two are sacred. Something sacred is something set apart. But we often conflate that with sacrosanct, that which is beyond criticism. So much of how we talk about the past, about war, and about death co-opts the language of sacredness, placing it beyond the reach of our examination. We do this because we're afraid to see the blood on our hands. We celebrate our collective identity while washing our hands of our collective responsibility. You can't have it both ways. Those grand patriotic narratives would tell you otherwise. The sacred is only meaningful when it is both set apart and imminent. Do you recall what God said to Moses on their first meeting? Take off your shoes, God says. This is holy ground. In other words, remove the barrier between you and I. The sacred is not meant to be unreachable. It is meant to move us out of what we perceive of as an unremarkable, unchanging reality and into something greater. Then we're meant to bring it back with us. That holy dust would cling to Moses' shoes for as long as he had them. He, too, wore on his feet a memorial of his encounter with the sacred. So when we talk about the past and about loss, are we making it sacred or are we making it sacrosanct? Is it making us feel something, or are we keeping it at arm's length? we often ask ourselves, how can we do this correctly? And that, my friends, is the wrong question. Our problematic cultural narratives exist because of our obsession with perfection. Ethicist Sharon Welch has written extensively about our North American culture, and specifically the middle class. At the core of how so many of us operate, she says, is this ethic of control. It is defined by a complete and total avoidance of anything that shows our blind spots, our flaws, our fragility. Our ego is tied directly to our sense of competence, of having it all together. The perfect truly is the enemy of the good. This obsession prevents us from genuinely encountering each other. And to combat this, she urges that we adopt an ethic of risk, which sees us engaging in dialogue, mutual critique, and political action. In other words, we have to let ourselves be wounded in order to grow. I would remind you that though it has softened with time and use, the root of the word compassion means to suffer with. That is where we find the sacred, in asking where the pain in our history can be found and letting ourselves feel it. I asked already once how many memorials we've made this past week, and I will ask again. Do we even know? They have become so common that we lose count. We actually have to debate the definition of casualty and whether it's based on injuries or deaths. And regardless of how we answer that question, most of us don't know the number. How has this become an abstraction? And yet that is exactly what it has become, an abstraction answered with thoughts and prayers. Let me tell you right now that far too few of those prayers result in encounters with the sacred. They are hollow words, unchained from action, lip service paid to the Prince of Peace while burning sacrifices on the altar of the God of War. If anything is blasphemous, surely it is that. I have been sitting with this anger for days now. Maybe you feel it too. Maybe you feel more grief or guilt or fear. Maybe you feel all of them, wave upon wave. Maybe you're so burned out by trauma after trauma that you can't feel anything right now. Wherever you find yourself, be it standing, sitting, or lying prostrate in the dirt, shouting, "Why? Why?" I invite you to listen to these words from assassinated Salvadoran Archbishop and recently canonized saint, Oscar Romero. Peace is not the product of terror or fear. Peace is not the silence of cemeteries. Peace is not the silent result of violent repression. Peace is the generous, tranquil contribution of all to the good of all. Peace is dynamism. Peace is generosity. It is right, and it is duty. Today, we can sit with the silence of the grave and the pain of loss and injustice. But the sacred, those things we have made memorials of, call us to be transformed and to be transformers. They say, "This happened." We cannot change that. Let's not let it happen again. So once you have rested, and please take as long as you need, I invite you to stand up, put on your shoes, and come and join in the work. Amen.
Can we all stand now? Let's join in singing our closing hymn, number 1015. I know I can.
Do not shake the dust off your feet. Let the sacred cling to you and leave a trail of holy footprints as you work to reconsecrate this world. Go with compassion. Go with purpose. Amen.
I come from